For those of you that don't know me, my name is Austin Baldwin. I'm the account manager over here at InspectPoint, and joining us today and going to be running a lot of the webinars are our wonderful VP of Customer Success, Jennifer Doyle.
So before I jump into the product, which I know probably everybody is like, just show me what it looks like. I've got some slides to go through. So just kind of what does this mean? What does this, what does it look like? What are the new features that are coming? Right. So we have an improved materials and service management. I'll kind of explain what that is. You'll see a little bit more of it when we get into the product. A big thing is that you've always had the ability to add materials right to work orders, but now you have the ability to add materials and services to an inspection, which leads to easy inspection invoicing, which can, show not just the inspection price now, but all of the relevant services and materials that were used during an inspection. And along that lines, we couldn't forget about proposals. We've had some nice enhancements to the proposals come from this as well. So overall, our goal with this entire iOS update was to really streamline the inspection to collection process. So you probably have heard us say this a couple of times in trainings and consultations and implementation, this inspection to collection process. And we really kept this in mind with this new workflow. It was also really to increase the efficiency in the office and in the field, right? So always keeping in mind that tie between field and office and making sure that things are streamlined and efficiency is happening in your business. So here's what we're doing with this new update. So I mentioned this a little bit on the first slide there, but we are now allowing technicians to track materials and/or services used on an inspection. This is intended for those minor service work items, right, that are done on site. Maybe you have a contract that allows you to do X amount of dollars worth of work on site. You have the material there. You can quickly perform the service while you're there. Also, maybe relevant charges that you accrued during that inspection, a truck charge, mileage, whatever it might be, you can now add that to the inspection. From there, it makes the office side easier when it comes to generating an invoice with those items on it. So prior, you'd be able to generate an invoice with the inspection price, but you'd have to manually add the items that were associated and performed in the field with the inspection. With the new workflow, that all comes back as one. It also improves the quoting that could happen in the field as well. So keeping in mind that proposal work, it's now going to be very easily distinguished both on the mobile side as well as on the office side, what has been completed versus what is proposed work for you. It also gives you the ability to create a proposal from a work order, right? So those on gold and platinum, or the platinum side of it, right? You can create that proposal and convert it into that work order. It will give you the ability also to then determine if you need additional work. Or if you're doing that walkthrough, or you're trying to evaluate a future inspection contract or future inspection, it will allow you to do that as well now in the field. What's changing, right? Here's obviously the benefits of it beforehand, but what's really changing? How is this going to change your day-to-day? Is this going to be a scary thing for you? What's changing is on the mobile side, and we'll get there in a second, really the biggest changes is we're removing workarounds for the technicians. So no longer are techs having to write notes inside of recommendations or building messages or technician messages to let the office know what they've done on site, right? They can indicate what they've done on site, thus making it more efficient for the technician as to where they're going to put that information, and more efficient for the office side because it's consistent on how they are being told that information. They're not having to look in different spots. It's right there for them to see when the inspection comes back. thus creating it an easier way for them to invoice for that. There's no need for the office to manually add those line items. So like I mentioned before, users would have that information everywhere, right? Office would generate an invoice, gather all that information, and then manually add that. That will be gone. It will automatically come back from the mobile app, and it will be on the invoice accordingly. Corrections is gone. No longer when you make this update will you see a blue button at the bottom that says corrections. You will now see once you update this app, you will see a materials and services module appear below all of your inspection information. That is replacing that blue button titled corrections. And so all of this, what is this whole thing and who's it available to? So for the work order proposals, you must be on gold or higher in order to use this feature. And when it comes to the platinum, that service function, being able to, take this fully through to that service visit, you're going to need that platinum functionality. So I just want to keep that in mind while we are looking at the product, who this is available to and how this whole workflow would really look. So the time has come. I'm just going to switch over to my my mobile device here. While I'm doing this, I just want to talk through just a couple of configurations that I have enabled. So keeping in mind that what I'm about to show you when it comes to adding services and materials to this inspection is that I am doing this so that it's just quick items in the field. And let me just get this up. All right, perfect. Can I get like a little thumbs up? Can everybody see my eye? Perfect. Thank you, Austin. I'm doing this as just quick add items, right? I've had a service in the field. I have the item on my truck. I'm just performing it. I'm not doing a full service visit in this example. Another thing is that on this inspection, I have a configuration on my iPad or on my device here that displays pricing. I want to point that out because we do have many customers on here that have pricing hidden from the mobile side. When you update, that configuration will still stay the same. So I just wanted to point that out, that I have purposely am displaying pricing on here, but whatever configuration you have had prior to the update of the iOS will remain. So if it was hidden, it will stay hidden. The other thing is that I also have a function on here as well that has full proposal acceptance. So I just want to point that out as well. There's just a couple of configurations. Now, when it comes to the actual update that is coming, you may notice my screen looks a little bit different. Some of the things that we noticed on here, right? Corrections is gone. We have the materials and service module there. I do just want to take one quick moment here. We do have a couple of raised hands, it looks like. I want to see if there's any questions about anything that I showed prior. Okay. I saw a couple of them popping up. Perfect. Okay, so then we'll wait to the end to handle those questions. Okay, so when you open up your app, you're going to see here, performing an inspection just like I normally would, right? I've got my questions, I've got my system, I've got my extinguishers. I'm going through, I'm performing my inspection, and I identify a deficiency. I now have a choice. Am I able to make the repair on site and indicate the service work? Or do I have to flag it as a deficiency and then let my office know, hey, this is the proposed work? Let's say in this particular example, I get to a question. I'm in my wet sprinkler system. I have an item that I need to propose. In the material and service area, I'm going to tap that plus button. I have the ability to search for something. Maybe I just don't have this available and I need to come back and add it later. Like I said, keeping in mind, I have pricing enabled and it's showing to me as the technician, but this can be hidden. I'm going to save it and I'm going to come back out and I'm going to see it in my proposed area. So just keeping in mind what's going to happen when this goes back to the office now is a proposal is going to be created. If I'm continuing to work through my inspection and maybe I'm able to fix something right on site, I can tap onto the completed, tap the plus button, search for whatever material it is, add it, and save it. So now when I look at this, I have a completed item and a proposed item. So what's going to happen when I send this inspection back to the office is I will be able to generate an inspection report, an invoice, and a proposal for this. So I can work my way through the inspection, continuing to propose additional work or indicate things that I've done on site. Remember though, keeping in mind that this is not for a full service visit, right? It's those quick items that I'm able to perform during an inspection, not a service visit. Now, one thing I want to point out really quick is a unique feature and function to our extinguishers inside of our product. So add an extinguisher group, say I'm at an extinguisher. If I scroll all the way down to the bottom of that extinguisher, I'm going to see the same exact materials and services module. So it's going to maintain consistency throughout the product as to what you're going to see. The unique thing to an extinguisher is that you have the ability to indicate completed materials and services or proposed work at each individual extinguisher. Another unique function to the extinguishers with this new update is the ability for me as the technician to favorite materials and services. I want to make a point on this one that the favorites is unique to each individual technician. So my favorites will be different than Austin's favorites and vice versa when it comes to the extinguishers. I may do something completely different than Austin. I don't want to scroll through a giant list of extinguisher options. I've got my top 5 and that's who I want to see quickly. So I can tap onto that and quickly decide, is it proposed or completed? At the extinguisher, it would work just the same as it did on the main inspection screen. I would be able to come in. I would see my favorited item with that, blued in star there indicating that it's a favorite. I can add it. Say I did this on site and it will be added at the general level to the area and materials and services. So you'll see that it was added there. So really the biggest difference on the mobile side is the removal of the corrections. In having to leave this main inspection screen to go to a correction screen, to go to another area, to select from a list to then come back out. Your materials and services is right there in front of you on your main inspection screen, where you are seeing everything that you need to dive into, to inspect and to answer. And for those extinguisher inspections, I have the ability at each individual extinguisher to see the same module, that same materials and service module, and indicate those quick things that I'm doing out in the field, both completing as well as proposing. So when I go to send this inspection back to the office, I am seeing that pending proposal. I'm able to submit back just the same way as before, right? Nothing changes in the way your inspection is performed. Nothing is changing in the way the inspection is submitted back. It's really just streamlining where you are going to be adding work that you've done on site versus work that you're proposing. So I'm going to submit this inspection back to the office. And while that is happening, I'm going to stop this and go back and kind of talk through once again what's kind of happening here. So the inspection came back to the office. Thinking about this again, right? That had 2 completed items on it. It also had a proposed item. I have an inspection. So at this point, I can come back, generate the full inspection report. In reviewing this, I see that I have materials and services. That's a visual cue to me that I can now invoice. So I can come to the top, in the drop down, click an invoice. It's going to confirm that my price is that $1,500 for the inspection. And when I do that, I'm going to see the invoice. I'm going to see the inspection price, and I'm going to see all of the items that I marked as completed on site on this invoice. From here, I can go about any invoicing workflow that I have, right? Maybe this is going to be going over to QuickBooks Desktop. Maybe this is going to be going over to QuickBooks Online. Maybe I'm going to be issuing this through InspectPoint and collecting payment and hoping my customer goes to the portal and makes payment there, or is clicking the link and making payment. So I have my invoice. Now, going back to it, and I always like to say it's that paper trail, it's that audit trail, it's knowing where everything is connected. I see on this invoice, I can quickly go back to inspection 36 now. I have my generated report. I've issued an invoice, and now I can come in and continue the workflow of quoting on the proposed work that came back from the technician. So at this point, I have a lot of revenue options that essentially just came back, right? I have an invoice, I have completed items I can invoice on, and I have the opportunity now to create that proposal. And kind of keeping with our workflow, it's about doing it as quickly as possible so that proposal is top of mind for your customer, which means you're more likely to get it accepted so you can get that work order out the door and then issue an invoice and collect payment on the service work on it. So that is the flow in general, right? So on the iOS side, it is really the removal of the corrections and the addition of that nice services and materials module, keeping everything consistent in the flow, streamlining that, creating it so that office and field are it's very easy for them to distinguish between what's quoted and what's completed, so we know the correct item to generate a proposal, an invoice, or both. And then on the office side, it's clear for us as to what we need to do. And then we can generate the proper documentation, invoice, inspection report, proposal, and then continuing with the workflow, hopefully through to the service visit and to that final invoice for the service work. So one of the questions is are you going to be able to link deficiencies with the material added? You can still link deficiencies. You would use the material area for it. It lives at the general area. So you can still link deficiencies just like you would before, and use that material area as well in there. General question of will they still be able to submit deficiencies? Yes. So that flow is going to completely remain the same. Technicians will still see all relevant inspection questions. That whole flow will not change. Their process of documenting deficiencies will not change. They can still add notes, both customer facing, internal, attach photos, both customer facing and internal, and submit those back to it. Another question is does the proposal only get sent to the office and not the contact that is listed for the on-site? That's a really good question. So that is just a configuration option. I have pricing enabled, which is often what is used if the technicians in the field will be getting acceptance of proposals in the field. So that is an option. They could essentially create a full proposal in the field, get acceptance on site and or issue it to someone. That's commonly when we would see pricing enabled. I just did not take it that far. In my view, it was sending it back. But if your workflow is to currently have technicians get acceptance of proposals, that will still remain as well. It will just be more clearly defined to them what is a proposed item and what is a completed on-site item. Be assigned. So the question is about it. They noticed that there was a work order number assigned to it in the back end. Yes. So right then and there, it is a work order is created for it. And then, from there, visits are added, right? So you can continue the whole process on that one. So yes, good catch on that one. There is a work order right up at the top number that is automatically assigned to it. That happens because completed work was done. So the moment they do that, a work order will be created for it. So another great question. You noticed that on my top screen that it said that there was a draft proposal. Is that the only place that you will be able to see that a proposal is in the draft status, is on awaiting review inspection, or will you see it someplace else? That's a great question. So you will obviously see it on the inspection screen in that draft status. If you also navigate to the proposal tab, you would see that proposal created, same number that's issued on the inspection screen, and it would be in the draft status as well there. So you would see it in both areas, both on the inspection for ease of just grabbing it and moving it right from the inspection while you're there, or if you're working off of the proposal tab, you would see it there as well. Do you have favorite items after you click materials and services? So yes, favorite items is right now on the extinguisher side. And like I said, those are very unique to each individual technician. So like I said, I might have some favorites and Austin might have some other favorites, and each of our lists is gonna be just a little bit different. I have a question about QuickBooks. It's always a nice thing, right? Would be happy to connect you with Austin on that one so we can do sort of a deeper dive into it. There is an extra charge to connect. So that was the question, is there an extra charge to it? We do have the integration for both QuickBooks Online and desktop, but we'll definitely be reaching out just to talk a little bit more about that with you. Training videos will be coming for this as well. Yes. So I know this is going to be a big change. While it may not look like a big change, a lot of people are very consistent in their flows and knowing exactly where to click. So we will definitely be available on the CS side to help with any questions that come up or any, panic or anything that happens upon the first day of the iOS change. But videos and the staff over here will be ready to answer any questions or concerns that happen upon the new update when it is pushed live and downloaded. There's just another question about a customer approval. You can get the customer approval. That would probably be like a contract price on it. We could also maybe would recommend maybe doing something in your signature on the inspection to also contain, hey, we did the following work on site and they were okay with that. Questions are, does this affect any of my custom inspections that were made? Nope, it will not be touching any inspection information. So if you have any custom inspections, you have custom questions, it will not impact them at all. This will just impact the way that you are able to quote in the field and now give you the ability to add those items that you've done on site there as well. So this is a question is, if the technician creates the proposal, does the inspection or work order, does it automatically get flagged? In this particular example, in this particular workflow, this is not a full service visit, not a full service visit. So there is no indication of requires follow-up on it. This would be intended just for those items that you are able to quickly add, small items, small materials, small services that you're able to do at time of inspection. If you were to issue your customer, or if you were to issue your technician, I should say, sorry, a full service visit for them to complete, that's when they would be able to indicate that something requires follow-up.
How does this work with QuickBooks? I guess it kind of goes back to the conversation about our integration. Really what it's going to do is whenever it sets up an invoice, that's what's going to send over into QuickBooks, as well as, what materials and services you're pulling into it. So if you have questions around that, please email me directly. It might be a more specific question opposed to just kind of giving a high level overview.
I do see one, Austin, on if a tech can enter a price. I can take that one. That would probably be the best function for you to have enabled the full proposal in the field option. This function does not allow them to add material in the field and indicate pricing. That is all driven from the office side of it. If you wanted the technician to be able to add line items or quote on individual pricing, that's when you would probably want to use it in conjunction with materials and services and enable it so that your technician would be able to complete to add the line items, and that would be creating the full proposal in the field. So that would be an option for them to be able to enter pricing themselves in there.
I see one that I can take.
Okay.
Someone said that they saw that Brycer posted a new integration. That one's completely out of left field, but yes, I did post and send out email information about that. We have been integrated for a few months now. We actually just released some brand new features to the integration early last month that are really exciting. So I'll be reaching out to you individually, the person that asked that, but anybody else that has questions based around that, if we haven't spoken already, please do reach out or schedule a call with me. Super great integration that we can talk about and really save you guys some time.
Also, we have another person who's interested in the QuickBooks desktop person there too. So
yeah, I'm a lot of people asking about it.
Yeah.
But if you want to go to the next slide as well, Jen, my direct contact information is right here as well. So my email address, you can email me directly. I'll also be reaching out to people individually as well that we might not have gotten around to question wise to talk to individually as well. So be on the lookout for any phone calls over the next 48 hours that I'll be calling out and seeing what questions you guys have, any feedback as it kind of settles in a little bit more. Maybe you go to sleep tonight, figure out, hey, I did have a question that I forgot to ask. I can answer those questions as well.
Yeah. I am seeing some questions just regarding like specific updates to, once again, just inspections, regarding, like I said, I think I'm seeing couple in here on hydrants and some ULC stuff. Be happy to take those and have someone on the CS team reach out to you. And just, this update, this iOS update is just on the being able to update and add completed work and proposed work in the field. But any questions that I am seeing here about specific updates or questions you have around specific inspection stuff, someone from my team will circle back with you on that. I'm trying to think. Austin, are you seeing any other ones that might be relevant for us to, or you're seeing that I might not be?
I think we got them all.
All right, perfect. Yeah, some of the other ones in here, if we haven't gotten to them, sorry, there are so many. Question is this just iOS? Yep. So our mobile side, our inspection side is iOS only. So this app update is only an iOS update. So when made available, it will be available for updates in the App Store. You will be getting, like it says on the slide, updates in when it gets closer, letting you know, reminders of what this is, and some, some additional information, because we do know that, once again, while it's not a massive change on it, any change can be big for people. So we want to make sure everyone feels comfortable with it and really knows what to expect. Question about whether or not the office can mark materials as favorites for tech. Right now, it's done on the technician side of it, since it is custom to the technician themselves. The office cannot do that. Each individual technician would do it. Had a question about just the iOS and like what iPad, just to make sure that your iPad can handle the iOS update. We'd be happy to send some information around what iPads we are compatible with and what we do recommend. There is a certain iOS level that you do have to be, your device needs to be able to handle. So we will follow up with anybody regarding those questions directly with our overall recommendations for the mobile devices. Question is, this is a good question. Can you set up proposals and pricings to select technicians, or is it general and all? So great question. The ability to hide or show pricing is a global setting. So all technicians will see pricing, or no technicians will see pricing. Same thing with the ability to create full proposals. That is a global setting as well. So if enabled, all technicians will be able to create a full proposal. And I should say, if they do have the ability to create that full proposal, they don't have to necessarily get approval in the field. It gives them the ability to build out a little bit more, but most commonly it would be that they are on site trying to get acceptance right there in the field. But it is a global setting. Another person wanting the iPad information will definitely send that around, so everyone makes sure that they do have compatible devices. So by using the new completed and proposed materials and services, how will the original proposal from an inspection work going forward? It will work just the same. So it'll when you click onto the proposal from the inspection screen, or you click onto it to edit it from the proposal screen, it will be the same exact workflow for you. So that's a good question. There's no change to that whole process once the inspection comes back and there's a proposal. From the office side, your view will not change at all. The only nice thing of it is you will now see a proposal with materials and services added to it that you didn't have to add. The technician in the field added for you. So that's really the only difference. You can add additional items if needed, but no change on that for you at all. So yes, I mean, right now in the field, proposals. So the question is do they have the ability to create proposals outside of an inspection? And specifically like a deficiency proposal. Right now, this intended workflow is for a technician to be able to create it from an inspection. They will not have the ability to create like a general one for the building. This intended workflow is to stay within the inspection to collection workflow that we lovingly refer to, and it will always be tied to an inspection because that's where it originated from, was from an inspection. If you wanted to create a proposal outside of an inspection, maybe a generalized one for, a new inspection contract, recommend that be done through the back end right now. But this workflow is for the intention of a proposal originating from an inspection. Per inspection time, can we invoice for the work completed? So great question. We've got a question that says they don't necessarily bill per inspection. They So can they just invoice for the work that was completed on time of inspection? And yes, you can. Great question. In my example, I happen to have I was, invoicing on each individual inspection. If that is blank, then all you would have to do is leave that blank. It's going to confirm in the pop-up, hey, do you want it to be blank? If you are, it's not going to show a blank line item. It's just going to show the completed work on site. So yes, great question. You do not have to have an inspection price in order for this workflow to work. So great question on that. Can a tech communicate with each other when at a customer site that could utilize tech messages? Probably not that real time on that one, but if they wanted to leave notes to each other, they could use the tech messages area as well. Good way maybe for them to leave a message to each other for maybe something that they might need to do on a repair or something. But yeah, tech messages is where we would tend to recommend that. Once again, thank you so much for attending today. The entire team is very excited for this update. Austin's information is here on the screen. So if there is anything that we talked about that you are interested in learning more about, lots of interest in the QuickBooks stuff, the compliance engine, the TCE stuff. If there's anything like that you want, definitely reach out to Austin. My team will be reaching out with any of the questions that were asked that maybe we didn't get a chance to ask live. And of course, just keep your eyes peeled as we start to drip out more information and let you know when this is going to be available for download in the App Store. So thank you again, and everybody have a great day.
Thank you, everybody.